Good evening from Los Angeles. I'm Tavis Smiley. Tonight we continue our special tribute to legendary musician and my dear friend, Prince. We're glad you've joined us. Part 2 of our tribute coming up right now. The world is still reeling from the death of Prince. The iconic musician and producer was one of music's most popular and prolific acts for over 3 decades. Although he rarely did interviews and preferred to let his music speak for itself, he made an exception for me several times over the years. Back in 2009, he returned to this program to discuss his unique collection of 3 CDs, Lotus Flower, MPL Sound, and Elixir, which featured a talented young singer named Bria Valente. Good to see you as always.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Look at us on that camera.
Yeah. Do we look good?
Looking sharp. I'm feeling new sideburns.
Oh, yeah. Well.
It's working.
And that black and white is sharp. When you're, for the book, the best-selling book, 21 Nights, your photographer, Randy, was here. Randy St. Nicholas.
Yeah.
Yeah, Randy was here. And I remember in that conversation, the two of us talking about the fact that you stay pretty much clean all the time. It's not like when you're in your house, you got on sweats and...
Randy said that?
Yeah, Randy said he's pretty sharp all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
That's not true?
Yeah, I sleep like this.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I would believe that, except for the fact that I know that you don't sleep.
Yeah.
You really don't sleep very much.
I saw a sign that back said, journalist, advocate, insomniac.
Yeah. Yeah, well, for you, it should be the world's greatest musician, insomniac. That's what it is.
Props to you on your show, seriously. I watch every chance I get, and Hugh Masekela last night.
Yeah.
So, wow.
Yeah.
Joni Mitchell.
Yeah.
Man, it's just so enlightening.
Well, I appreciate it.
Inspiring.
I'm glad you said that, because I was actually, I never told you this story, but one day when you were on before, I was around town somewhere, and we had promoted that you were coming on the next night. And I walked past a group of people, and they didn't see me, obviously. And I overheard them talking about you and the fact you were going to be on my show the next night. And one of them said, why would Prince go on PBS? And I was thinking, they don't know that Prince watches like everything, but indeed watches PBS.
Well, I keep an eye on you because, you know, you have been an advocate, and I learned a lot from State of the Black Union. You've sent it to me, and I make a point to try to check it out when I can. And that said, Dick Gregory, one time I saw him on there, and it just moved me so much. I put pen to paper, and I owe him money now.
Back to this PBS thing now, right quick. I'll come back to that only because you really got into Unforgivable Blackness.
Yeah.
What'd you make of that PBS series?
Oh, it's amazing. I'm in sort of celebration mode right now. I'm just thankful to be alive. I'm thankful to have the friends that I do and the teachers that I do. And I've spent the last year just playing when I feel like it. And I really look forward to this time in my life. And I happened to come across that show, Unforgivable Blackness, and the story of Jack Johnson just moved me to no end. One of the reasons is that he had to deal with seemingly insurmountable odds all the time. You know, if he would knock somebody down, people from the audience would get into the ring and pick him back up, you know, so they could continue fighting.
Yeah.
And I just related to it on a lot of different ways. I was, I've never spoken about this before, but I was born epileptic. And I used to have seizures when I was young. And my mother and father didn't know what to do or how to handle it, but they did the best they could with what little they had. And my mother told me one day, I walked into her and said, Mom, I'm not going to be sick anymore. And she said, why? And I said, because an angel told me so. Now, I don't remember saying it. That's just what she told me. And from that point on, I've been having to deal with a lot of things, getting teased a lot in school. And, you know, early in my career, I tried to compensate for that by being as flashy as I could and as noisy as I could. And, you know, I just looked, again, I look forward to this time in my life when I could reflect back on it and talk to people like yourself, Dr. Cornel West. I mean, when you all come over to the house and we sit and we just talk about heavy things, I just become thankful. I don't know what else to say other than that.
How did you get beyond? Because I know you have so many fans of all ages, and I think there are no doubt some young people watching who I know, in fact, not might, will be helped by your answer to this question. As a kid, being teased so much, and kids get teased for all variety of reasons, as we know, how did you grow out of that into, not just into confidence, but indeed into excellence? Or maybe I put it in the wrong order, excellence and confidence. But how did you grow out of that? How did you navigate yourself past that?
Good question. The first thing I did is of course, I went into self, and I taught myself music. My father left his piano at the house when he left, and I wasn't allowed to play it when he was there because I wasn't as good as him. Mm-hmm. So when he left, I was determined to get as good as him. And I taught myself how to play music, and I just stuck with it, and I did it all the time. And sooner or later, people in the neighborhood heard about me, and then they started to talk about me. And it wasn't in a teasing fashion, it was more like, wow, look what he can do. Mm-hmm. And there's something about having people around you giving you support that is it's motivating. And once I got that support from people, then I believed I could do anything. Mm-hmm. And I had a lot of really good teachers. My best friend, Andre Simone, his brother, Eddie, I'm entirely indebted to in this regard. He used to tell me, man, your songs are better than anybody's on the radio. You can do whatever you want to do. Mm-hmm. And I just kept rolling with it. Eventually, I went out to New York, and I got turned down my first time, but I just wasn't, you know, I felt like Jack Johnson then too. Mm-hmm. I just wasn't going to be put down, you know, so.
Back to this excellence thing, though. Talk to me about excellence. I mean, it's clear that you are head and shoulders above pretty much everybody else in the world of music. And that's my assessment, and a whole lot of fans agree. We all say amen? Amen. See that? So it's pretty clear you head and shoulders above everybody else. But talk to me about how we, who are not Prince, can aspire to the level of excellence that you portray in what we do every day.
Well, everybody's talented at something.
Right.
And that's what makes the world go round. We all need each other. And again, it's about good mentoring and good teachers. I had a lot of good people around. The other thing I have to point out, though, is that how can I put this? My father he was so hard on me. I was never good enough. And there was something about that. It was almost like the Army when it came to music. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's not even close to, he'd say, it's not even close to what I'm doing. And he'd play again. And I could hear it. John Blackwell, my drummer, he's same way. His father taught him the same way. We learn like that. We learn from being shown. It doesn't come from books and just reading it. We need to be shown, you know. So it's just having really good teachers and a bar that's so high, you know, Tiger Woods. I mean we can go on and on and on. Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to juxtapose, knowing you as I do, everything about you is love. You create love in the space that you occupy. When folk come into your world, they feel the love. Love is in your lyrical content. Your whole life is about a love of humanity. I'm trying to juxtapose how you got to this place of being love when you had this relationship with your father that obviously didn't always exhibit loved? You could be a very mean person now. Why not?
Well, I have a mean side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me back up there.
Yeah. Yeah. I can go there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a fighter. I'm very competitive. I think from him being so hard on me, that the one thing I got out of it is I understood that in his harshness, he wanted me to excel. He used to say things like, "Don't ever get a girl pregnant. Don't ever get married. You know, don't this, don't that." When he'd say these things, I didn't know what to take from it. So I would create my own universe. And my sister's like that. A lot of my friends are like that, the ones that I still have, you know, early musicians and things like that. Creating your own universe is the key to it, I believe, you know, and letting all the people that that you need occupy that universe.
To your friends that you referenced a moment ago, how have you chosen, how have you decided to maintain the friendships that you have maintained over the years? And what's your barometer for knowing whether or not those friendships are beneficial? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can tell whether they're beneficial if someone's respectful of you. You know, respectful of you when they're not around you. I find that most people are pretty respectful in front of my face. When they're not around me, sometimes you hear them say some pretty hurtful things. And I don't know if they think it won't get back to me, or if I don't care, or if I think I'm above it, or whatever. But I remember them as I remember them. And we were in love then, we should be in love now. It's a hurtful place, the world in and of itself. We don't need to add to it. And we're in a place now where we all need one another. And it's going to get rougher. So I kind of hope that, I hope people, when they hear that, they don't think that I'm going to lash back out at them, because I'm not like that. I've never done that. I've heard a lot of things from a lot of different people, a lot of pretty famous people, a lot of journalists. A lot of my work is judged based upon my personality or my past work as opposed to where we are now. And I don't know, it is hurtful sometimes.
How difficult is it to live in a world, into your earlier point, which I take is a brilliant point, the world is already mean enough. We don't have to add to it. But how do you contextualize emotionally having much of your work judged by your personality rather than on the merits of the work?
Well, one reason is because I like criticism. I like constructive criticism from smart people. I'm thankful enough to, or blessed enough to be able to say that Miles Davis was a friend when he was alive. And he was a wonderful mentor and really, really funny, you know. And he could critique something you've done by humor, you know, and out of love, rather than just, you know, just call you a punk and just say, you know, just dismiss you. He wasn't like that, you know, because people he cared about, you know, he tried to help. When people criticize my work and attack my personality, it's doesn't help me. I can't do anything with it. I don't know what they, you know, I don't know what they want. I've asked writers this before, and a lot of times they tell me that they just write for each other. They're not really writing for, you know. Well, I really got him that time, didn't I?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Okay, well, yeah. I don't know. Nobody learns anything from it. Really.
Who's qualified? I mentioned, I want to connect these two things. I said earlier that you were head and shoulders above everybody else in the music world, and most musicians, I think, even acknowledge that. who's qualified, and maybe qualified is the wrong word, but it's the word I'm going to go with. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Who's qualified to critique your stuff these days? You mentioned Miles Davis. Miles, who's qualified to critique you?
Oh, anybody.
Music critics? Fans? Other artists?
Yeah, I don't mind anybody. If they do it with a sense of love, if they're trying to, show me something about the work that, they really feel is important for me to know. And I don't see a lot of that in journalism today. Most journalists are just lazy.
Yeah.
It's like,
but if you said you like being critiqued and you love constructive criticism from smart people, how do people critique you if you are so ahead of your time, as you have proven to be consistently? If you're so ahead of your time, how can they critique what they ain't even caught up to?
Because listen, if they don't feel what I'm doing, they're going to let me know. If it's somebody I love, they're going to tell me they don't feel it, and they'll tell me the reasons why. And I can appreciate that. I write all the time. I record all the time.
I want to go back to Jack Johnson because he's still in the back of my head. I can't get him out of my head where this conversation is concerned. Who have you felt most often like in the ring fighting the record industry? Like Jack or the opponent?
Oh, like Jack.
Like Jack?
Yeah.
Tell me why.
Well, because I knew I was right. We talked about this in our very first interview and conversation together.
There are 4 songs that I want to ask you about, and I did what I have never done before, which is to actually print these lyrics out. Some of them, since the record is so new, I'm learning some of them. I got some of them memorized.
Who gave you the lyrics, though? I've seen some really strange rewrites of my stuff.
Well,
I've seen one time they said the lyrics to When Doves Cry was, dig, if you will, the picture of me, Marvin Gaye, and the kids.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
And then there was another one. This person will go unnamed.
Yes.
She didn't speak the English language too good.
Right.
She had a really cute daughter, so that's why we was acquaintances.
Yeah.
But she swore up and down, Little Red Corvette was pay the rent, collect.
Yeah. Depending on one's perspective, you are either a genius for doing stuff like this, doing it yourself, distributing it yourself, et cetera, et cetera. You're either a genius or you are a hater of the industry, a hater of the way things have been done, ought to be done. Tell me the strategy behind your doing what you do these days.
Well, first of all, there's no hate involved. I mean, I welcome the industry to stay and remain the way it is. I mean, it's actually good because, when I'm sitting talking with somebody like Anita Baker, we can point to the industry as the way we don't want to do it anymore. We don't believe in free goods, and we don't believe in, 90% of the contract the way it's written now, the standard contract. We don't believe in 360 deals. Anybody that signs one of those are absolutely crazy. But it's a free country. You can do whatever you want. The thinking behind this was to introduce a new artist to the world, somebody who is very dear to me, and her music, it's soothing. It soothes me. I'm not a big fan of male vocalists. Usually when I do ballads, I use my higher register because I love the female voice doing slow music. I spoke too soon and mistakenly compared Bria's music to Sade's music. I didn't mean that she sounded like Sade, but I did mean that there's a romance that is present in Sade's music that, like the song Love is Stronger Than Pride. It's one of the most beautiful tunes ever. And there's a romance that was missing in today's music. And the best thing I could tell Bria was, try to do something that is not happening today. Try to get into a niche, because you have a beautiful voice, but you've got to do something with it that you don't hear. And that's what she's done. And it's one of those sleeper records that, you know, if people play and listen to all the way through, she got you.
Why am I not hearing a lot of this on radio?
I think it's because I'm not signed with a major label. Target is not a record company. They're a distributor and a retail store, and a very good one at that. 30 million people go through their stores every week. So they get a chance to pick up the Lotus Flower record. The beautiful thing about the relationship is that they're treating us like any other record company. They buy the same amount and they pay the same price. So, you know, we've done quite well already.
If you had a station or a string of stations that you were the program director of, owner and program director, what would it sound like?
I would just want it to be good music, and I'd want it to be littered with artists who own their master rights, because without that, they don't own any wealth. They can't put back into their community. There's very few artists that do own their masters right now. When that changes in the future, you'll see more radio stations being purchased. You'll see airwaves changing ownership rapidly.
Because you obviously are, you told a Jimi Hendrix story earlier, and because obviously you are the greatest, one of the greatest guitarists of our time.
Man, I like this show.
No, what do you mean? You know what? We just tell the truth around here. We just tell the truth. I'm just trying to be a truth teller. What do you make? What do you make of this? Thank you. What do you make of this Guitar Hero?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm mad at them. I hear it made like $2 billion, and they came to us and offered us a very small portion of that. But I just think it's more important that kids learn how to actually play the guitar. It's a tough instrument. It's not easy. It took me a long time, and it was frustrating at first. And you just have to stick with it. And it's cool for people who don't have time to learn the chords or ain't interested in it, but to play music is one of the greatest things. To create something from nothing is one of the greatest feelings, and I don't know, I wish it upon everybody. It's heaven.
Yeah. She's one of the 3 records, Elixir by Bria Valente, in this new 3 CD package at lotusflower.com. Tell me how you found her. I'm going to talk to her in just a second, so you're going to give me the lead in here.
She says that she met me first, and that's what she told me. I say that I met her first. I will say this, that Morris Hayes is very instrumental. He's my keyboard player. He's very instrumental in us actually coming together. And once we got together, we clicked. It was pretty easy. And the most interesting thing about her is how rapidly she picked up understanding of Scripture. Because I pretty much talk about that with everybody I know, because it informs my life so much now. The other thing is that she's really funny, and she likes to laugh. And you know, Travis, I love to laugh. So, no, I'm kidding. So.
Yeah, he's funny. Yeah.
I'm kidding. I told her I was going to say that to you one time. That was for her.
You got it out, and on that note, you can get out of here. His name is Prince. His new project is called Lotus Flower. Prince, I love you, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. Glad to have you here.
We are. This is our Millennium Month on Larry King Live. Tomorrow night, a tribute to Frank Sinatra. He would have been 84 years old this Sunday. We'll replay an interview tomorrow. And among the guests next week will be Ted Turner and Peter Jennings and Jim Carrey and President Gerald Ford and President Bill Clinton. That's all next week. It's a great pleasure to have with us tonight the artist formerly known as Prince. His first album in 3 years has just been released. It's called Rave Unto, The Joy Fantastic. There you see the cover of the CD. And for the artist, the obvious first question is, why 3 years?
Well, there's a few things I wanted to get out of my system, mainly the Crystal Ball project, which was a reissue of a lot of the bootlegs that have been coming out all over the world. I'm probably one of the most bootlegged artists out there. I wanted to clean that up and get the real good mixes out and let people hear what they're really supposed to sound like, if ever given the chance to complete them.
So that's the reason for this space of time.
Yeah, we did a couple other projects. I was working with Shaka Khan. I did an album with her, Larry Graham.
She's terrific.
Yeah, she is.
What can an artist do about bootlegging?
The best thing you can do is go back and get those mixes again, and fix them up the way you always saw them completed, and then reissue them.
Does the listener know if they buy one of these in Germany that this isn't what you intended?
A lot of my so-called fans do, and they actually thrive off the fact that it's stolen property.
You would admit yourself an unusual personality.
Depends.
I mean, well, let's say you're different.
As compared to what?
As compared to most people in, let's say, show business, you're an unusual person. Most people don't get famous with one name and then change it, right? Would you say? What's the story of that, by the way?
Well, I had searched deep within my heart and spirit, and I wanted to make a change and move to a new plateau in my life. And one of the ways in which I did that was to change my name. It sort of divorced me from the past and all the hang-ups that go along with it. I was, as it's been well chronicled, in deep dispute with my record label. And
Which is Warner Brothers, right?
Yeah.
Which owns this network, I might add. Just
oh, they do?
yeah, well.
We had some issues that were basically about ownership of the music and how often I was supposed to record and things like that. We got along otherwise. We just had came to head in those types of.
So there was no clash over what you would record or what kind of music you were singing, etc.
No,
none of that.
No creative issues whatsoever, and they were gracious enough to allow me a very wide palette to put colors onto.
But about the highest risk one would think someone who gets famous would take is to drop the name that got them famous.
Well, that was one of the things that I dealt with, is that I really searched deep within to find out the answer to whether fame was most important to me or my spiritual well-being, and I chose the latter.
Was it difficult to not be what you had become known as?
You mean?
I think, well, let's say the only other famous person I know who did this was Cassius Clay, who's a dear friend, and he changed his name to Muhammad Ali as heavyweight champion of the world. That was incredible. To change your name, that was due to a faith belief. But he wasn't selling records. He was in the ring, and as long as he won, it sold. You, though, a person in show business, is almost dependent on recognition. You stopped being Prince.
Well, that's a good point. I pretty much wanted to be dependent upon God, and when you get the inner calling to do something and you know that you're being inspired by God, you pretty much know you better answer that call or suffer the consequences.
You think this was God-inspired as well?
I do believe, yes.
Why then did you choose the artist formerly known as?
Well, I didn't choose that. That was chosen.
Chosen for you?
Yeah, pretty much.
What would you have chosen?
I
mean, did you think of a name? What is your name at birth?
My name at birth was Prince Rogers Nelson. Yeah.
So did you think of Nelson?
No.
Rogers?
No.
Were you thinking of a name?
No, it didn't come to me like that.
So how did the artist formerly known as come about?
Well, that came up through people's problem with, mainly the media's problem with not having a pronunciation for the symbol. So they had to come up with something, I guess.
So the artist formerly known as is a media invention.
Yes, sir.
Not your invention.
No, sir.
You're a symbol.
Oh.
Okay, how do you promote a symbol?
Well, what we found is throughout the world, if you hold this up and show it to people what they think of, they will say Prince.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So you obviously made it famous.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Can you tell us what it signifies?
Well, me.
No, but I mean, how you chose it. You designed it?
It's sort of come about over time. I've always morphed the female and the male symbol together.
Show it again. Let me see that. Yeah, and it works.
It's pretty cool, ain't it? Makes for great jewelry, too.
Has it been copied?
Oh, yeah.
Stores sell this everywhere?
Well, a lot of times you'll find, like I say, so-called fans on the internet, which is kind of a problem sometimes because once they use the symbol, it's as though I've endorsed whatever it is that they have for sale, and
Can you copyright that?
it is copyrighted.
So you can't be ripped off by it.
No.
We've been showing it on the bottom of the screen so that people tune in, they know who we're watching
Oh,
here.
cool.
There it is. Look at that. See that?
Now, all right.
That's cool,
It's a
right?
class act.
Hey, this CNN, man, we don't fool around. We'll be right back with the artist formerly known as Prince. We've got to talk about his album, His Extraordinary Life. We'll be taking your phone calls as well. He's got a concert coming up, and the album, Rave Unto the Joy Fantastic, is now out. Don't bootleg it, buy it. We'll be right back. We're back with the artist, and the new album is Rave Unto the Joy Fantastic. And he now calls himself the artist. In print, however, it is just a symbol. We gave him the name. He'd want to trace his early life, an incredible story. But you live in Spain, right?
I like to say that I live in the world, but I'm not of it. I travel a lot. I call Spain home now. I also have a home in Minnesota. Yeah.
Still in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Roots.
Yeah.
Why Spain?
What I found that I like most is from 2 to 5, everything just shuts down.
Siesta.
Yeah, and everybody just chills and they take a moment to just gather their senses. I think, you know, we probably need to do that here in America sometimes.
So, no, what do you, at 2 o'clock every afternoon, you stop doing whatever you're doing?
Well, there's no stores and shopping and things like that. All that shuts down and just allows everybody a chance to just regroup and, you know, think about life.
Do you still have a fondness for Minneapolis?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What was it like growing up there? There aren't many blacks in Minneapolis. Right? I was talking to Dave Winfield the other night. It was about 1% maybe.
Yeah, it was interesting for me because I grew up getting a wider array of music. I grew up with Santana and Larry Graham and Fleetwood Mac, all kinds of different things, you know. So that was very cool.
Good place to grow up?
Yes, sir.
Well, you had a rough childhood, didn't you?
In some respects.
Did that affect your music?
I don't think so, no. I think it probably helped me to look inside to know that I had to do for self, yeah.
You had a rough time with parents. I mean, that's all resolved now, but you had a rough time with your father, right?
I wouldn't call it rough. I mean, he was very strict disciplinarian, but all fathers were. I learned the difference between right and wrong, so I don't consider it so rough.
Would you look back and say you were glad he was that way?
Well, you know, as I go through this journey, I don't look back much at all. I try to stay in the now and live in the now. I think it keeps you young.
So you're not a reminiscencer?
No.
When did you...
Is that a word, Larry?
No, I invented it.
All right.
Maybe it's my new symbol.
Well,
Inventing words.
Just HIPAA, brother, so I know. I like to learn, but you know.
When? Good point. When did you decide music would be a career?
Well, I learned early on this was what I wanted to do. Maybe about 12 years old, I knew that this is what I'd want to do the rest of my life. Yeah.
You knew it then?
Yeah.
And what burst you on the scene? Well, how did the world get to know Prince, the then Prince?
Well, by the way, I'm still Prince. I use a different sound for my name, which is none.
But it's hard not to refer to you. It's hard to call you. Oh,
It's cool.
Okay.
It's cool.
you're understanding of this plight we're faced with.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
What was the question?
The question was, no, good. You threw me. I forgot the question. The question, what was the question? I just asked the question. I forgot the question.
You were saying how much you loved live television.
Yes, that wasn't the question. No. No, the question was, how did you get famous? How did the world get to know you? What happened? Was it a record, an appearance, something?
Well, it started with a lot of appearances I was doing in and about Minneapolis, and word just spread about.
So you were a local name?
Yeah, what I could do. And then I was taken out to Los Angeles by my first manager, whose name escapes me, and other people started getting to see what I could do.
And then did you have a hit record?
No, we were just talking about making one right at that point.
And what burst it for you? What did it for you?
The song?
Yeah.
Song was called Soft and Wet.
And
that
that
was the first.
immediately became a hit, and you were known?
Quietly, but a lot of people knew about me because I used Stevie Wonder as an inspiration, whom I look up to a great deal, just for the way that he crafted music and his connection to the spirit. And boy, back then I used him as a role model in trying to play all the instruments and be very self-contained and keep my vision clear. So word spread very quickly about what I could do. A lot of people knew about it, yeah.
How would you describe your music? What idiom would you put it in?
The only thing I could think of, because I really don't like categories, but the only thing I could think of is inspirational. And I think music that is from the heart falls right into that category. People who really feel what it is that they're doing. And ultimately, all music is or can be inspirational, and that's why it's so important to let your gift be guided by something more clear. You know?
And the thing is, we don't know. You think you know where that gift comes from?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm going to talk about that in a minute. We're going to see as we break. Here's a portion of a video from that brand new album, Rave Unto the Joy Fantastic. Our guest is the artist. Watch. By the way, all those things that you just saw, the videos they do, you do in your own studio in Minneapolis, huh?
A good portion of them. Yeah.
So we don't think of L.A., Nashville, all these hotspot New York places. Minneapolis gets it done too. Huh?
Minneapolis has always been a bomb. You
Yeah?
don't have to go outside of that.
Now, where does your inspiration come from?
I like to believe that my inspiration comes from God. And that,
Did you always believe that?
no, as you grow older, you learn and you start to you get smarter. Yeah.
Because you were once kind of raucous, right? I mean, you're right. You would say you would, well, not anti-spiritual. You certainly would not think of you as a great believing soul.
Well,
True or not?
no, I don't believe that to be
Always
true.
were.
Oh, I've always known that God was my creator, and that without Him, nothing works. It works to a point, and then it just kind of deteriorates. Entropy takes place.
When bad things have happened to you, do you blame him?
Oh, absolutely not. No.
How do you explain? How do you resolve it in yourself?
I learn from it, and I don't wallow in it. I don't spend time in a place. I let myself move on. You know, right today I could sit and say I have animosity towards
The record company.
Yeah, a company that owns the rights to my work. You know, they're businessmen. They're doing what it is that makes their business successful, and I'm also allowed to do things that make my business successful. And for me, that would be to own my work. So I just chose to step away from that. And knowing that, I sent a nice letter to the then president, because they changed a lot weekly during that time. And I told him that I loved him and that, you know, I was glad that I had this experience, you know.
So you would say, even though we don't like to look back, that dispute turns out now to be an experience that worked for you.
Well, I think my understanding of it is what worked for me. I don't consider it proper that my creations belong to someone else. I can go up to a little kid on the street and say, do you know that I don't own Purple Rain? And they're appalled by that. So my understanding of it is what pretty much...
Do you still not own Purple Rain?
No, I'll have to re-record it to own a new master copy of that. We've done that with the song 1999. There's a new master recording of it.
I want to ask about that and that how you looked ahead. 1999 came out in the early 80s. We'll be right back with the artist formerly known as Prince. We'll be including your phone calls at the bottom of the hour. Don't go away. I know you're going to do a pay-per-view special the year 2000. It's going to air New Year's. And you say that's the last time you're ever going to play 1999, right?
Yes, sir.
Tell me the origin of that. What were you thinking in 1980? What was it, 2?
1982, I wrote that. We were sitting around watching a special about 1999, and a lot of people were talking about the year and speculating on what was going to happen. And I just found it real ironic how everyone that was around me, whom I thought to be very optimistic people, were dreading those days. And I always knew I'd be cool. I never felt like this was going to be a rough time for me. I knew that there were going to be rough times for the Earth because this system is based in entropy, and it's pretty much headed in a certain direction. So I just wanted to write something that gave hope. And what I find is people listen to it, and no matter where we are in the world, I always get the same type of response from it.
Dick Clark just rated it one of the 10 great songs of the millennium.
Oh.
Great records of the millennium. Did you have any idea it would be as prophetic as it was and as successful as it was?
Not to sound arrogant, but there was a point during rehearsal, we were working on it, and the song was going to be sung in a 3-part harmony like Sly and the Family Stone song. And we all got together and we started singing it, and it wasn't really working. So what I did is I said, all right, you sing your harmony for the first part, then you sing your harmony for the second part, and I'll sing my harmony for the third. And it broke. When that breakup happened like that and everybody got their parts separated, then I knew we had something real special.
Are you surprised at how long it has been around?
Well, I've been around a while, so.
But I mean, now 1999 is here. Were you right?
Well, when you listen to the music, there are a lot of people running around kind of Y2K in it, and we just kind of chilling and studying.
Are you worried about Y2K?
No, sir.
Not at all?
No.
Some computer's going to go wrong, you'll fly.
I don't worry about too much anyway.
You don't?
No.
Did you ever? When you had disputes, arguments with record companies, taking a stand, were you a worrier?
No, I think once I started writing Slave on my face, I pretty much knew the outcome. I mean, you have to understand that that word on one's face pretty much changes the dynamic of any meeting that you're in when they see it.
And how did people react to you when they did see it?
Well, the record company didn't really say too much. They just kind of... All right, what's the business at hand today? And that was it.
We'll take a break and we'll come back with the artist formerly known as Prince. You got a concert coming up?
Yes, sir.
Where?
It's going to be from our soundstage at Paisley Park. You need to come. It's going
When
to
is
be
it?
Off the chart. Well,
Why do we have to? Why we can't announce when it is?
no, because it's going to air on.
Oh, it's going to air. I see. First secret of it. I feel like I'm doing the old game show. We'll be right back with the artist formerly known as Prince. Don't forget the concert. It's on. Don't go away. Yeah. This pay-per-view concert will air New Year's Eve for only $19.99. It's as low as you get in pay-per-view. And you can order it from In Demand. A lot of guest stars in this too?
Oh yeah, I just spoke with Lenny Kravitz. He's gonna come jam with us. We got Maceo Parker, Larry Graham, the Family Stone. We're trying to get Sly out of his crib so he can come down. Who else? Mavis Staples. She's gonna do a couple numbers.
The great Larry Graham's going to join us at the end of the show. He's maybe the great bass player in the world. Certainly one of the best.
Well, if you ask me, that's it.
Right. Legends live.
Yeah.
You are now, what, 42 years old?
So they tell me. I
Do
don't.
you feel 42?
No, I don't count birthdays.
You don't celebrate them either?
No.
No happy birthday? Right, okay. Let's take a call. St. Louis for the artist formerly known as Prince. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Good. I've been a friend since '78. My favorite cut on the Rave album is So Far, So Pleased. And I wanted to know what inspired you to add this to Rave, because it seems like it's really different from the rest of the cuts. So I just want to know.
I think my love of rock music and living in Minneapolis, I'm always going to have my guitar in the mix somewhere. And the chance that I got to work with Gwen Stefani, I wanted something that she sounded really cool on, so I put that on there.
Has a lot of music affected you? Do you like jazz music?
Oh yes, sir. Miles Davis, I learned a lot from. I learned a lot about space from Miles. Space is a sound too, and can be used very inventively.
He was also technically a great player, was he not?
So they say, yeah.
The Purple Rain concept, autobiographical?
Semi, yeah. Albert Magnoli wrote that, the script for that. My whole thing was to, I really wanted to chronicle the life I was living at the time, which was in an area that had a lot of great talent and a lot of rivalries. The Time and I forgot to mention, they will be on the pay-per-view special. You got to see them now. They're crazy. So I wanted to chronicle that that vibe of
Were
my
you
life.
surprised at its success? It's not pompous. Maybe you weren't. Maybe you knew you had something.
Well, you know, you can kind of get a feel. There was no movie out like that at the time. That's what I tend to do in all the things that I do is, you know, the ideal with art and inspiration is to try to let it grow and move forward. If there's stagnation, you can always come with something and cut through the maze.
So do you sense that you're different? In that regard, you're unique.
Yeah, my music, I think, is different, yes.
Cambridge, hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, what a pleasure it is to see you in an interview situation.
What a pleasure to be seen.
He doesn't do many.
I know. It's great. I'm having a great time watching this. I'm a huge fan, and I have been for a long time.
Thank you.
Since you've been called Prince and the artist formerly known as, and the artist and the symbol, and I can't help but wonder, what do your friends call you? What do your closest friends call you?
Good question. Meet you on the street. Okay. What do they say?
Let's see. Larry calls me baby brother. Maite calls me honey. Let's see. My enemies call me squiggle, and you know, all kinds of crazy.
What do you call your? Let's say you call me. Hello. What do you say? This is who?
I don't say that too much.
What would you say? You must make some. Do you ever call anyone?
Very seldom. I don't like telephones.
You don't?
No.
So it's rare that you hit a button and dial a number?
Usually the people I call are people that I'm close to, and they know my voice.
What does Maite call you?
Honey. She never really called me Prince.
She never, even when you were Prince?
Yeah, she never used that.
There she is. How is she doing?
Oh, perfect.
She is in Spain?
No, she's in Miami now. She's visiting her mother.
So on the Purple Rain thing, you could say you expected it, not surprised that it went as well as it did.
I expected it. I think because there was, like I said, there was nothing out like it at the time, and if only for Morris Day's performance, I thought he was incredible in it, and the music, we were at a very good place musically. Right today, I feel like I could put together something equally as interesting, um, and it would be as successful if the right people are getting paid. You know, that may sound strange, but this is a business, and when people are involved in it, you have successes, you know, and I understand that, and I knew there would be times where records wouldn't sell as much when I got away from those particular people, but I was cool with that because success pretty much is what you make it to be.
So you're saying then you do need the suits, so to speak?
It depends on what you gauge success to be.
What do you? Is financial your gauge word?
No, not so much, because once I do the music, it's a success there. I mean, that's it for me. Now, on the selling tip, for example, if an album goes down the chart, that isn't something I can control. I just did the music, you know.
But you want people to tune in New Year's Eve. You'd like to have a lot of people call in demand in order to see you. You're an artist. You want to be seen.
Yes, but if it's an auditing situation where I don't know how many people are actually tuning in, it's not something I can control. They can actually say anything to me, right?
Correct. Yeah. So, and you have to go trust.
That's why contracts don't work. They're not based in trust.
Do you therefore, have you lost, even as a spiritual person, lost trust in people?
Oh, no. I've lost trust in contracts. I don't believe in contracts.
Do you have a contract for the pay-per-view night? Or a shaking hand? Or
I'm not certain. I can go check, but...
But you're not into them?
I'm not into them, really.
Our guest is the artist. We'll be back with more phone calls at the end of the program. We're going to meet the great bassist, Larry Graham, as well.
Sorry.
The is applauding. He never calls anybody. Weird. Hello? No one's there. We'll be right back with more phone calls. If we take 2 or 3 more, we'll break a record here. Don't go away. A lot of people were telling me today, I was just telling the artist that, boy, you're going to have the artist on for now. It's going to be very hard because he's very hard to talk to. Now, you're not hard to talk to. Where did this reputation begin that you are difficult, do you think? And I'm mad you're not hearing it here for the first time.
Yeah, probably where all reputations begin. I think the media plays a big part in one's perception of me. Until one sits down and actually talks to me, they can't really know me.
Well, should you have been more public? Should you have done more of things like this?
No, I kind of did what I wanted to do. I wanted my music, as even now, to speak loudest for me.
But you're not uncomfortable here, are you?
No.
But the reputation is that you would be. How do you fight that other than by counteracting it?
Well, I'm not, I don't think in terms of fighting. I'm not, I don't think that you win anything by fighting. I'm the type of person that likes to look at things for exactly the way they are and
Do you get angry? You're a perfectionist musically, right?
Yeah.
So you must get angry then.
I use my anger with humor. I have a way of being very stern, but I always find the irony in it, and I always make it funny. I make it funny for myself and the person that I'm.
So the person you're directing at is not humbled or made to feel less than a human?
Well, no one can make you feel anything. You pretty much are going to fall in there if you aren't spiritually based.
How do you handle that aspect of the media which has often given you trouble, the tabloids?
I don't have trouble with anybody, really.
You don't? Do you read them?
No.
Do you hear about them?
Very seldom.
Do you think any part of a personality's private life is our business? Do you think your marriage is our business?
Well, I'm like this. My music is my music. That's pretty much what you come to the party for.
Naturally.
If I give you something else, that's me giving you something else. If you seek something else, then there's something inside of you that's lacking, I would think. So I think that personal actually means personal. And
but do you wonder why the public wants to know? Don't wonder.
No.
Are you interested in the personal lives of other people?
See, Michael Jordan. Let's see who.
Yeah, are you interested in Michael Jordan? You're a big fan of Michael Jordan.
Big fan of Michael Jordan.
Are you interested in how his marriage goes?
No.
No. Interested in how he gets along with his children?
Nope.
No.
I'm just interested in how he gets along with that rim.
Well said. We'll be back with more of the artist formerly known as Prince. This is Larry King Live, Ted Turner Monday. Don't go away. Don't forget New Year's Eve special with the artist on pay-per-view. Before we take a break and meet Larry Graham, let's take another call. Houston, hello.
Hi, pleasure to talk to you, sir. I've always known you to be a spiritual and God-loving person, and I've always respected that and your music, and I've known that you've always thanked God on every one of your CDs, and that has inspired me all my life. I love God myself. Was that part of your inspiration of becoming a bassist?
We lost that what? Oh, I'm sorry, we lost the call.
I can finish it for him.
Oh, what was your earliest inspiration, she's asked. That was
I was discussing this with Larry today. We were just discussing the word inspiration and where we think it originated from.
And
ultimately, you know, if you go back, your father may inspire you, and then that your father, his father inspired him, and his father may have inspired him.
Eventually we get to Adam.
Yeah, and eventually Adam had a father, you know. So, yeah, inspiration comes from God. That's the original source. And so to use your gift in a creative fashion, that's the best thing you can do.
We're going to take a break and come back, and we'll be joined to finish the program by one of the great bassists of all time. He now is the bassist with the artist. The great Larry Graham will join us right after this. You'll see the artist in a great concert, an all-star concert on New Year's Eve, and in that concert will be his bassist, the great Larry Graham. How did you hook up with this? Why are you part of the concert?
We got a new name. Wait a minute now. Come on, man.
What else? What are we going to call it?
Here go the media again, Larry. I don't know.
Okay, what you name it. Tune in for what? How did you hook up?
Raven to the Joy 2000.
How did you hook up with him?
Well, actually, just let me say something right quick before we get into that. Thank you for having me on the show. And I've watched many of your shows, and I think you're a great person. And the picture you just showed me, your little baby, was just blew me away. Congratulations on that.
Little chance.
And,
You like him too.
Yeah. But thanks for having me here. I've watched many of your shows, and I think you're wonderful. And
How did you
I
hook
thought
up?
about, what am I going to wear? So I think I'll let Larry King inspire my attire. So this is my Larry King look.
The King look. Well, we're close on time, so tell me how you got together with
We
him.
were in Nashville, and I was playing a concert at the small venue, and baby brother was playing the concert at the larger venue, and he found out I was there, called me, and said, hey, we're going to have a jam session tonight after the show. Would you like to come? And so I went, and we walked into the club. My wife reached in her purse and pulled out my fuzz pedal and my chords. And
That's love right there.
and hooked me up, and that was the first time we got a chance to play together. And that night, we said everything that we never got a chance to say to each other over the years. We talked through our music. And when that night was finished, I knew so much more about him, and he knew so much more about me, and we connected from then on. And after that, you know, he said, well, I'm going to be going on tour. Would you join me? And we did one show, then another show, then another show. And
How important is the bass?
Oh, man. The bass is, that's it. It's B-A-S-E, not B-A-S-S. That's a fish. B-A-S-E.
Yeah, good point. How good is he?
No, it's, man, he's taught me so much about respecting one another, musicians listening to one another, and just the sound of his bass it's undeniable.
How good? What do you put in the jacket? You're cold, huh?
Yeah, it's cold.
Yeah, we might tell the audience.
yeah, it's freezing in here.
This is above and beyond.
I don't
It's
want my
Purple
voice.
Heart Night.
I don't want my voice to start shaking and
Forget
folks think I'm
Purple.
nervous.
Forget Purple. We're almost out of time. How great is he?
Well, I tell you this, the greatest musician that I've worked with, because I've worked with other musicians that were great, but they didn't allow me to really have the freedom that I needed to be able to give them all that I could give them. With Baby Brother, he allows me the freedom to give all that I can give, and as a result, what we're doing now, when you hear it, you can see that it's coming from the heart, which is why we're touching hearts.
Unselfish.
Totally unselfish.
Great pleasure meeting you.
Thank
I'm
you.
honored. And wait, let's show you this ring, folks. Put the ring up there. Look at that ring.
It says Graham. That's in case I forget my name. You
And
know?
those are diamonds I wouldn't imagine. And thank you, little brother.
All right.
Baby brother.
Baby brother. We hope you enjoyed tonight's edition of Larry King Live. We certainly did. Thanks for joining us. We're going to leave you with a nice shot here. Watch.